Hello, everybody. Welcome to Music Talk Mondays. I'm your host, Eddie Lamb. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about all things related to music. We are broadcasting live on Twitch, on YouTube, and on TikTok. So welcome everybody back to the podcast. So we talk about all things related to music, whether it be about our favorite artists, our favorite bands, our instruments, songs, albums, soundtracks, you name it, we talk about it. So I have an official website. It's EddieLamMusic.ca. If you want to follow my social media, I got Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube, which we're broadcasting on, as I mentioned. I also got Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So you can follow me on all those social media platforms, and I would love to keep in touch with you guys that way. If this is your first time watching this podcast, welcome. It's good to have you guys on here. Thank you for tuning in for the first time. I would love to connect with you guys if you become new followers, new subscribers. Hello, Jude is in the house. Hello. Hello to Jude on Twitch. I also got PayPal as well, so you can follow me on paypal.me/EddieLamMusic if you want to donate however much you want if you enjoyed my content on my social media platforms. Of course, I also got patreon.com/EddieLamMusic, so if you want to donate, however, if you want to subscribe to my Patreon, if you want me to do things such as I make videos to wish everyone either a happy birthday, happy graduation, happy anniversary, whatever it may be, whatever, or even if it's a friend that needs a little pick-me-up, a little bit of cheering up from a bad day, I can make some greetings videos just for you folks like that. Cool. Well, anyways, guys, again, welcome everybody. So this is how the format's going to work. So we're going to do our topic discussion in the first half of the show. It's the first half, topic discussion. And after that, we'll do open Q&A and open discussion after. So once we get the topic discussion out of the way first, then we will have a free-for-all discussion about all things related to music. It could be about today's topic too, so that's how we're going to roll here. Hello, Jojo. Welcome. Jojo on TikTok. Jojo is a local friend of mine from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. She's a singer. She's one of my loyal followers who came to all my live band shows with my cover band, The Naturals, where we used to host live band karaoke back in the day. So thank you so much, Jojo, for tuning in. I really appreciate that. So make sure you guys, speaking of followers, make sure you engage in the comment section below. Have a healthy discussion if you guys want to talk to each other. I wanted to start this community, have this cool community of music lovers in here. That's what we want to do, because we all have that common love for music. So let's just head on over to today's topic. So I want to talk to you guys about a certain show that has been on the air across your screens for quite some time. We've all heard of it at one point, so I think it's important that we talk about this. So, for nearly 20 years, reality singing contests, specifically American Idol and The Voice, the American Idol specifically, has been on the air for quite some time. They invaded our television screens across the globe. Whether we celebrate the winners each year or just laugh at the terrible auditions, these shows provide an interesting source of entertainment. So each year, the numbers of contestants increase by thousands, if not millions. Would not be surprised if it's in the millions. It's viewed as one of the ultimate gateway. It's viewed as the ultimate gateway to success in the music industry. So almost like that golden ticket that you wanted to get into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, that's what it kind of reminds me of a little bit when it comes to American Idol. So the question is, do we as performers necessarily need to be inspired by the show? Are these programs truly representing success in the music industry? So let's dig into the performers and audience perspective on this show. I guess my personal perspective on this. But because after all, there are pros and cons to shows like American Idol, to shows like The Voice, to shows like America's Got Talent. there are some pros and cons to it. So let's go over to pros first. The pros of American Idol. So the first point I want to make is that as the viewer, you get to see and hear some amazing talent. So their skills, the way they cover songs, all that kind of stuff, basically. So that's a given. That's a given. So I'll say that again. So that first pro about American Idol and The Voice is that you as a viewer get to see and hear some amazing talent that deserve to be on television for sure. And of course, every time when I watch The Voice, for example, I actually do get excited about it. I want to see who's out there that could be potential new stars, or maybe they're existing stars that we never knew in our radar, in our personal radar. But sometimes I do get excited when I do watch The Voice just to see what's out there. Of course, another pro is you get some laughs on the bad auditions. Of course, the classic, ever so classic, William Hung. He's known for being the guy that tries to sing She Bangs by Ricky Martin. And obviously his singing is not the best, but for some reason that audition just got him all famous to the point there where he actually made an album. There was a full album dedicated to produced. I don't know who was that produced it, but I know William Hung was the main star of that CD. So here he is covering a bunch of familiar top 40 tunes in that William Hung sort of fashion, if that makes sense to you. If you guys have not heard of William Hung, please do check him out. Go on YouTube. Check out his previous American Idol auditions. It's really hilarious. That's all I can say. I don't want to give away too much about it, but yeah, for those who may not know too much about the American Idol culture, check out William Hung. His audition is just quite hilarious. It's totally unforgettable. I'll just leave it at that. So check it out for yourselves. So the next thing I would say that's good about American Idol is that you see the contestants improve their talent later on in the season. So you see them develop. You're watching these people become better performers in the duration of the season. You see how much they've grown because they hang out with different vocal coaches. They get help from different industry people. Of course, the main thing is to get constructive feedback from the judges. So, with that being said, I mean, yeah, when I've watched these shows, like I've seen these performers improve over the duration of the season, and it's cool to see that. So at least that's the one good thing I can say about these kind of shows is that you will see growth over time, and that's how they create new stars. So that's one cool thing I can say I get a kick out of when it comes to those kind of shows. Now, the next point I want to make about this, of what's good about these shows, is that if you truly are a fan of the show, you most likely get hooked for the entire season. And the reason why is because you want to see who wins. That is it, right? It's a very simple premise. Who is the top dog? Who is the best singer of the year? That's what people want to know. And so that's why they go on to these shows, and when they start watching all these episodes, the entire tournament rather, they discover their new top star, basically, or the next big thing since sliced bread. Well, I'm exaggerating on the sliced bread part, but you get to see who is the top dog in the singing field. So that's why you're hooked on to American Idol, you're hooked on to The Voice, and dare I say it, in the musical category, you get to see who's the best in America's Got Talent. So those are the pros of those kind of shows. So again, let's review it again. So the first pro is that you get to see some amazing talented people. You get some laughs for the bad auditions. That's the next point. And the third point, you see contestants develop and improve during the entire season. So you see growth. And then the last point is that it gets you hooked in to see who is the winner, who is the top dog, who's the next big thing. Those are all the pros I've personally listed that I think are the benefits of watching a show like Idol, The Voice, and America's Got Talent. Now let's go on to the cons. Now, I was digging deep into some information on what are some of the cons of shows like American Idol? I know a lot of us have some really standard points of views, but I've gone through some different bloggers who've stated that they've applied for American Idol or they've participated in American Idol, and interesting things happen behind closed doors, basically. But of course, in this kind of show, we can be honest and discuss some of the things that were being told to us that I honestly don't mind sharing to the entire world, because if you want to participate in contests like these, in these kind of tournaments, proceed with extreme caution. That's all I'm going to say. But let's go over one of the first cons that I've listed here. So, point number 1 on the cons section. There's too much emphasis on the background stories of the contestants. Too much emphasis on the background stories of the contestants. So, unfortunately, when you watch shows like American Idol or America's Got Talent or The Voice, they spend a huge amount of time focusing on a contestant's personal life. They're all about the ratings. That's the reason why. They're all about the ratings, especially if you have a sob story. So it can be stories like, my house got burned down. I lost a family member to cancer. My cat Sparky went missing and is no longer coming back home. Whatever sob story it may be. Or of course, the classic American soldier story. I served my country for 15 years and now I want to get into singing. So there's always that. Don't forget, there's a scene in The Office where they kind of satirize that kind of thing. But like Annie Bernard in The Office said, is this a song about war heroes, or is this actually supposed to be a show about singing? Which one is it? Pick your battles. Well, anyways, I digress, of course. But it does kind of relate to this point. So I always feel like sometimes those reality contests, those reality tournaments, they focus way too much on the emphasis on people's personal life. And somebody made a good point on YouTube, actually, where they said that sometimes it unfortunately seems like the winners are based on the storylines of these contestants, which is unfortunate, and it does kind of defeat the purpose of what the premise of this tournament is, which is singing, basically. And unfortunately, you will come across a lot of that for all those shows in American Idol, in America's Got Talent, in The Voice. All great shows, for sure, like I said, but those are the little things that kind of make me cringe sometimes, too. It's just because it again, they want to do this for the ratings, basically, and producers eat that stuff up. So therefore, that is the one thing you have to put up with, unfortunately. So my next point, I would say that's considered a con for shows like American Idol and The Voice or America's Got Talent, is these shows may be potentially scripted. And this is what I've been told, that these shows are potentially scripted because there have been talks from various ex-contestants on, say, American Idol, for example, about how they direct family members and friends of a contestant to react a certain way in different scenes. So say for example, for instance, say you did the audition and then you made it to the next round. So as you see in the episodes, right, the minute the person gets a golden ticket to the next round of American Idol, runs to their families and friends, and they cheer, and they all hug, and they all have a good time, right? Well, sometimes that may not be an actual reaction. So what would happen is that the producers or directors, they'll say, all right, cut, hold on, okay, you guys need to, be more, you have to, like, come in, and then you have to, mom, you have to say this line to your kid, or, dad, you have to say to the kid, good luck, or blah, blah, blah. And so those examples, some ex-contestants have said that they would get the parents to say some lines that are way out of their character. And when you hear stuff like that, that really makes a question, is this really real, the stuff that you see on television? Or is this just a make-up WWE-type storyline just to have good ratings? I always feel like these reality shows is almost like a giant wrestling ring. It feels like I am watching WWE. I always wonder if these reality show producers were wrestling fans, so they want to create storylines. So I always wonder about that. I mean, don't be surprised if that's the case. I'm sure some producers would probably tell you that they're wrestling fans, or maybe they don't want to admit it, but they in the back of your mind, that they may be wrestling fans. But anyways, I'm digressing a little bit here, but kind of relates to what I'm talking about. But back to my main point is the fact that these producers, they may be scripting things a little bit too much just for dramatic purposes, to of course, shed. They want to make people shed tears because this is the most touching scene of all time. And then the same thing, too, when you think about it, what if the person lost and did not make it to the next round for American Idol, and then they have to get all, you can see them get really sad, they cry, or maybe they get really ticked off to the point that they scream, they talk smack, and they scream at the judges, all that stuff. I mean, that could have been scripted. That could have been scripted for sure. Of course, no one really. Some people do confirm this, but other people say it may not. But honestly, if this was the case, that this was all pre-written, I would not be surprised. Maybe those people who get really uptight and upset at the judges, maybe they're the most relaxed people in the world, but they just thought, oh, we gotta add more character to this guy, add more spice into him, that kind of stuff. And honestly, it would not be surprising if that was truly the case. So, continuing on to that point about this being potentially scripted, think about how they have to allow the worst acts to be on the screen. So again, this goes back to the whole deal about why are they doing this? It's all about the ratings. So everyone gives Simon Cowell heat for his crude comments to the contestants and butting heads with other judges, if you recall that back in the early days of American Idol. So, is Simon Cowell truly a crude guy that's a complete jerk to people? Well, you know what? Honestly, I don't know. Because we look at how reality shows are made, he may not be that kind of guy he is on television. Gordon Ramsay, maybe same deal. He seems like a very harsh, intense chef, but maybe in real life he's actually a softie. Just those kind of factors you got to put into perspective. But going back, I mean, yeah. So going from Simon Cowell's crude comments and butting heads with other judges, and then of course we know the infamous time when Nicki Minaj was arguing with Mariah Carey and Randy Jackson, and and that was all over the news as well. But entertaining, yeah. Cringy, yeah, for sure. But there's a part of me that truly feels it's probably scripted for, again, you guessed it, for the sake of ratings. For the sake of ratings. Again, reminds me of watching wrestling, basically. So let's talk about the next con about American Idol and those other singing reality contests. Music fans will think this is the one main source for success. I'm not saying all viewers think that way, but a lot of musicians who may not know too much about the music industry will potentially think that. So because shows like American Idol and The Voice and the X Factor, America's Got Talent, all those shows, they're all over the media, the average viewer most likely will think this is the only ultimate platform, because they think this is the only show that I will need to do in order for me to become a mega rock star. Unfortunately, that kind of thinking gives you that false concept that once you're an American Idol, and if you don't win it, it's like an end all be all end all kind of deal, basically. Which, of course, that's not the case in the music industry. Now, though the exposure to a huge audience is beneficial, you as an artist still have to work hard to get your name out there, including providing musical content and even engaging with your followers. That is a good way to stay relevant if you had that kind of massive following because of those shows like American Idol and The Voice and et cetera, et cetera. Because again, that's what you want to do to be successful. If you do have a huge amount of followers, people, honestly, try your best to engage with them somehow. I don't know what it is, but it can be, even if it's all about posting musical content. That's how you do stay relevant. Honestly, it's just be consistent, or be engaging with your fans somehow, and just do what you can. But again, this goes back to what I was just saying. Music fans should not, all these musicians and performers should not rely on shows like American Idol, thinking that this is the ultimate platform of all platforms. No, guys, there's other ways for you to be a successful musician that way. And in other ways. So there you go. Okay, my next point I want to make is this: the number one winner is not the luckiest person at all when they win these contests. So American Idol, let's take that as an example. So in American Idol, think about it this way. Do you ever notice that pattern? Okay, so minus Kelly Clarkson, did you ever notice that pattern where the runner-ups are more well-known than the actual champions? You ever notice that? So according to various sources, this is what I've heard in this show, from these shows. According to various resources, the winners supposedly are in some sort of contract, basically. So a very bogus contract like that. So from what I've been told, these corporate companies who run these shows, they own rights to your music. You can't do this, you can't do that, which unfortunately is that classic shady practices in practices in the mainstream industry all over the world. So classic example is when the second season of American Idol was wrapping up, Ruben was the winner of the second season of American Idol, right? He won the whole show. Clay Aiken came second place. But what happened? You didn't see any top hits created by Ruben. So instead, you see Clay Aiken being more successful. Clay released a bunch of singles, and it reached the top charts, and I didn't see that happening for Ruben. So, that was when I first experienced that, witnessing that happening, I was like, you know what? Something doesn't seem right. Like, why? Normally they would push the winners because they won the contest, but that wasn't the case. So something happened, which means there is some sort of contract that these winners probably have to sign where their hands are tied, unfortunately. I'd like to know what that contract is, to be honest with you. If anyone can leak that info out to me somehow, I would like to see it. Just saying. So you see Clay releasing a bunch of singles, and guess who else? Carrie Underwood. Carrie Underwood is another example. She didn't win American Idol, was not the winner at all, but she became one of the most well-known country artists. Before He Cheats, that is a big hit. It still is up to this day. People still love that song. It's crazy. And of course, the more obvious one is Mr. Adam Lambert. So Adam Lambert did not win American Idol, but I think he came in second place. Although I think he was the far more superior performer in my personal opinion. Really skilled guy and everything, but he didn't win the tournament at all. Nah, he did not win American Idol, but he ended up releasing hits of his own. And what else did we all know really well? Yeah, that's right. He ended up singing for Queen. That, to me, is one of the biggest accomplishments from anyone from American Idol as well. So, and here's the next point, I would say. The next con about shows like American Idol and The Voice and all those shows. you don't see too many shots of the house band. Because think about it this way. Without that house band, where would the music be? Right? The contestants need a band to perform with them, to really bring out that whole experience on performing with a band, but also just being able to have their own spin on these songs, the hit songs that they're playing. So think about it that way. Like, you don't see too many shots of the house band, but what I would have liked to see is I would love to see an episode dedicated to these hardworking session musicians who have to play all these hit songs for the contestants, including a behind-the-scenes look at how they write the arrangements for all the instrument parts. I know these reality contest shows focus on the contestants, and the judges, of course, but these pro instrumentalists are the backbone of this musical experience. They truly are. Same thing with the coaches who help out the contestants. All those people. Those are honestly mega troopers who have really made the show successful. I would like to see more behind the scenes with these kind of people. Honestly, I would. That's just me, though. So that's pretty much my con points about American Idol, like what's not so good about it. So going back to that question, let's tie it back together. So actually, let's review again. So let's go back to the pros of shows like American Idol and all the other singing shows. So the pros are, as a viewer, you get to see and hear some amazing talent. The next point, you get some laughs from the auditions, the bad auditions, obviously. Next, you get to see contestants improve over time during the season, and then the next point is that you like the suspense of who wins the show. Now the cons, let's talk about that. So again, the things I'm not a fan of when it comes to these reality singing contests is that too much emphasis on personal lives, personal storylines of these contestants. I don't think it's necessary. And also number two is potentially scripted. A lot of things are questionable. It seems pretty cheesy and fake. The next point is that music fans will think this is the only platform to make it in the music industry, which of course that's not the case. And the next point in the cons of these kind of shows, of course, if you're the winner of the show, you're not always going to be guaranteed successful. And then the last point is that I would like to see more focus on the background musicians who provide all the music for the contestants. I'd like to see more behind the scenes on that. So again, those are my main points. Hopefully that made all sense to you guys. Again, I would like to engage with you guys of course, in a Q&A portion of this podcast in a bit. So let me know your guys' thoughts. If you've heard everything I was saying, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in today to my podcast. Let me know your thoughts if you have any questions or just any random thoughts too about these kind of shows. I would like to hear your guys' point of view. Let me know what you guys think about that. Have you guys ever been on American Idol, or did you try to audition for it at least? Have you auditioned for The Voice or America's Got Talent? Let me know your guys' experience on that if you have done so. I'd like to hear more from you guys about that because I would like to get some inside information on how this whole thing actually worked. How did they operate? And truth be told, I actually did try it out for Canadian. Hold on, let's wait to say hello to Camillus. Hello, Camillus. Thank you so much for the message here on TikTok. I really appreciate that. Thank you. You saw me on Omegle. Yes, I spent the weekend singing karaoke over on Omegle. I like to entertain people like that. So, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in to my podcast, Camillus. I really appreciate that. So, yeah, guys, let me know about your thoughts on American Idol and those kind of shows. If you guys have, like I said, if you guys have auditioned for it or have been in the actual contest, in the actual tournament, the actual show, let me know. I would like to hear from you guys on your thoughts. Do you know any friends or relatives that were on these reality programs? Let me know too. Share if you want to. You don't have to tell me their names, just say, you can just say, my cousin was in it, my dad was in it, or just something like that too, or my classmate. So if you guys have any inside information about anyone that you knew of that was in these contests, I would like to know. So, oh yeah, Calgary Scott says, I don't get why Canadian Idol was canceled. It was good. Yeah, honestly, Calgary Scott on TikTok, you brought up a good point. When we had Canadian Idol, it lasted for quite a good number of seasons, but it didn't last too long. And of course, fortunately, Carly Rae Jepsen was one of the most successful artists that came out of Canadian Idol, which is of course she wrote Call Me Maybe, and that became a huge hit, and which made her famous in the first place. But from what I've been told, the ratings for Canadian Idol were not that good, and I think what it might have been is just the fact that everyone paid way too much attention to American Idol. So that's what happened, and that's the nature of the beast. Unfortunately, it seems like American Idol has a bit of that bigger budget production. I think that's just my guess on it. Calgary Scott says that he enjoyed Ryan Malcolm. You know what, Ryan? I knew somebody that loved Ryan Malcolm as well. I remember like a long time ago in that first season of Canadian Idol when Caitlin Porter was the winner of that contest, and I know everyone fell in love with him. Even my old boss at work, at the job I was at the time, he loved him so much, and he thought he was amazing. But I always wonder what happened to these Canadian Idol winners and contestants. I'm sure some people speculate that a lot of these contestants, they don't do music anymore, or they decide to just live a regular life, get a regular job, 9-to-5 job, and just do some, or just have a different career switch, basically. So and it was their decision. I have to respect that, of course, right? But I always find that like a lot of these people who are very talented, they have so much to offer, in my personal opinion. I actually have a friend who was on Canadian Idol. His name is Paul Clifford, and he was actually a really talented dude. One of the very few British guys who lives in Canada to be on Canadian Idol. And he was actually really, he's a good friend of mine, and I really admire what he does. A fantastic singer, very, very moving, cool, raspy vocals, which is perfect for rock, honestly. But the stuff he writes is actually really cool. I like it. I find it's really amazing. Anyways, so yeah, Paul Clifford, really cool guy. Look him up if you can. He's on the internet somewhere, right, Paul? Okay, now. So let's go back to that ultimate question about these kind of shows. Do we really need these kind of shows? Do we need shows like American Idol? Do we need The Voice? Do we really need America's Got Talent, The X Factor, all those shows? Do we need that? Here's my personal answer. Based on my pros and cons, I say yes and no. I'd say we could use them for entertainment purposes for sure. To discover new talent, definitely, but for us as fans, as musicians, as performers, we should not let that be the ultimate platform. Again, let me say that again. We do not need these shows to be the ultimate platform, being the only platform to get yourself out there in the music business. And the reason why is because, again, you don't want people to rely too much on it, and because of the nature of the fact that I brought up, because it's potentially scripted and all that kind of stuff, do you really want to be portrayed in those kind of shows? You have to ask yourself that. And that's why I like I said before earlier tonight in this podcast, if you are considering participating in these kind of shows, proceed with extreme caution. That's all I'm going to say. So if you're going to be in these kind of shows, proceed with extreme caution, and don't be afraid of rejection. Don't be afraid. If you get rejected from these shows, it might be a blessing in disguise. Just so you guys know, right? And don't forget, there's one, like they say, one door shuts, the other one opens, right? So that's all I can do. Sorry, I was reading Calgary Scott's comment here. He says, we used to need them for new talent. Social media has taken over for discovering talent, I think. Calgary Scott, you brought up a good point. It's almost like social media has become like your own personal tool just to get yourself out there. So in any case, I think that's a good thing in that part. So it's like social media, you can build your own personal empire. But of course, it all comes down to the main thing that you should have: official website. because social media can come and go, and one platform will be popular than the other. But the one thing that will last forever is your own personal website, because it's under your personal control. That's why. So there we go. Okay. So like I said, going back to my point, I think these shows like American Idol and The Voice and The X Factor and America's Got Talent, they have a place, but don't let that be the number one place, not the ultimate place, the only platform to get yourself out there. If anything, you know what? If you do, like I said, proceed with extreme caution when you do these kind of shows, but at the same time, if you get rejected, you know what? Use that as an opportunity to know what goes on in there. And at the same time, I say this, despite if you win that show, if you don't win that show, but you've gained some followers somehow, don't forget, it still goes back to it. The main thing to really get yourself out there is to just keep engaging with your followers, to keep having engaging with your followers, keep posting content to release, whether you're recording an album, recording a single, and music videos too. Just keep getting that out there. I think that, because you don't want to be a one-trick pony for being known for the guy that was on Canadian Idol, the singer that's on American Idol, on The Voice, or on X Factor. You want to be known as a really solid artist. That's all, right? If you want to be known as a very solid performer, or even like a very solid musical instrumentalist of some kind, again, don't rely on these shows too much, guys. Let that just pretty much, run your own music career however you want, and because only you know yourself more than anybody else. So those are my personal tips on that kind of thing. Let's go on to the next portion of this talk in relation to these formats of these shows. The one thing I will say is that even though I am entertained by America's Got Talent, I am a little bit entertained by America's Got Talent, but at the same time, I always feel like that show could use a little bit of reformatting. If it were up to me how I would do that show, here's how I'll go about it. Okay, so let's pretend I'm producing I'm producing America's Got Talent, or any other Got Talent show series, depending which country you guys are from. So if I were to book America's Got Talent, how would I do that? First of all, I would actually take away the music part. And the reason why I'm just saying this is because there's already shows for that, right? There's already American Idol. There's already The X Factor. There's already The Voice. All those shows already have the musical premise, right? Yeah. So I would take away the music part. But Calgary Scott agrees. Thank you, Calgary Scott. Thank you. I'm glad you agree with me on that one. So what I would do is I would have a few different categories. Like I would just limit to it, okay? Limit to the following categories for America's Got Talent. Have one category for magic, because I see there were some great magicians that were on that show, and it's awesome. And then the next category, I would actually have one for a dance crew, because there's some amazing dance crews on there too. Number 3, the category I would put for America's Got Talent, I would say something like, like acrobatics, for example, right? Some, people doing flips and all that crazy stuff. So I would actually have a category for that too. So anything kind of miscellaneous in those kind of categories, only because I always feel like, because this is what's going on with America's Got Talent. When you put all these variety acts all in under one blanket, basically what you're doing is you're just comparing apples to oranges. Those are my thoughts about that. And unfortunately, that almost to me seems a little bit unfair in my personal opinion. Actually, yes, Calgary Scott brought up a good point. He says comedians category, that would be great. Yeah, honestly, like I think a comedian category would be also a good one too. So those would be the main acts, honestly, that I would put in there. So yeah. But yeah, so I find that because what's happening, if you're putting like a magician going up against a dance crew, going up against a musician, and then they pick, the musician being the winner, You know what I mean? It's just like, like what do they get points for, right? And I always feel like there needs to be like a point system, like a score system, and that they can show to the audience. Kind of like, okay, the reason why I say that is because when I watch shows like Chopped or Iron Chef, like those cooking competitions, they have a really good system in my personal opinion. They have like all the different like this is what you're marked by. You're marked by by taste, creativity, and all that stuff, and that gives people a very clear direction of how they can become better and how they can increase their chance of winning. So that's what I would have done. That's how I would have booked something like America's Got Talent. I would actually have not only say those different categories like I mentioned, but have a scoring systems like okay, this is how we are going to rate these performers based on the following: were they creative? Did they do this? Did they do that? So gives people a much more clear direction and more transparency of why they picked that person as the winner. Not because of their sob story, not because they're doing this for their pet cat that's dying in a hospital. None of that stuff. We're picking the winner because they've met the following criteria. Calgary Scott says, so smart to divide into the categories. Thank you so much. Jude on Twitch says, Chop could become better if they didn't make me watch an ad before something big happens. Yeah, no, honestly, Jude, I agree with you, man. Like, yeah, seriously. Chopped could have done a much better job on timing on the ads, basically. That's true. Anyways, but going back to when I'm talking about for America's Got Talent, that's how I would have booked it, honestly. And then what they can do is like say, America's Got Talent Magic, right, for magicians. So aired out on Tuesdays. America's Got Talent for dancers aired out on Wednesdays. Comedians on Thursdays. And something like that. You know what I mean? Like they can do so much with that kind of thing. And again, I'm only going to do this if budget is not an issue. Like, if money is not an issue, that's how I would have booked American Idol. I would have ran it something like that. And what else is there? What other categories can we do for that? Yeah, or like, pet tricks on Mondays, something like that. So just like some ideas, basically. But like they can change it up each year, even if they have to, right? So it doesn't have to be always a dance crew every year. So maybe like, okay, so this year we won't have pet tricks, but we'll switch it up. This year we won't have dance crews, but we'll switch it up to pet tricks instead. So something like along the lines of that, or even like, like cool scientific experiment, that kind of thing, or light shows. There are so many different categories, but of course the producers should have to put their heads together and come up with something that they can all agree with. So it does always feel like when you see like unsuccessful shows that don't get a lot of viewership because it's just getting worse, I feel like it all reflects on who is the producer, who's the team behind the scenes, because they're just the way that the content is released and the way people's reactions are to it and the results of the ratings and everything reflects on who runs the show. Because they're the ones that made all the decisions. They're the ones that gave the green light to everything that's being forwarded. So I always say, if ever a show does not do well, that is on them. That is on them. And if they don't listen to fans, that's really unfortunate that it comes to that. So just saying. But of course, so that's how I would run America's Got Talent. That's a little side topic I wanted to bring up. So again, let's review that again. So if I were to book America's Got Talent, have a few different categories. Don't put everything in one blanket. So eliminate the musicians part because we already have enough platforms for that. So instead, let's do dance crews, magicians, comedians, or pet tricks, all that kind of stuff, right? So have different category divisions in that, and then pick the winner in each division. So yeah, that's what I would do. Hopefully you guys agree with that. How would you guys book America's Got Talent if it were up to you? Would you do the same thing? Would you do something a little bit differently? How would you have done it differently if it were up to you? If money was not an issue? Let me know. All right, folks, ladies and gentlemen, and people of every kind. We are now going to the next portion of our podcast, which is Open Q and A. Open Q&A time, guys. So feel free to type in the comment section, whether you're on Twitch, on YouTube, or on TikTok. Let me know what you guys would like to talk about in the remaining portion of our podcast. Calgary Scott says, I never thought of breaking it into categories till you mentioned it. Very smart thinking. Thank you so much, Calgary Scott. I'm glad you liked the idea. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. What would you like to talk about? It could be about today's topic as well, about American Idol, The Voice, X Factor, blah blah blah, all those shows. So let me know if there's anybody in your life too that you knew of that has taken part in these contests, in these reality shows. I always find that the reality show itself is just a different nature. Even like it's a completely different genre. Like reality TV has been on our airwaves for like over 20 years already. I can't believe it's been that long, because I remember when Survivor became a thing. It was like nothing like I had imagined before. Calgary Scott says, mind you, I think there were plenty of dance group shows too, though. Yeah, actually, Calgary Scott, what you're saying, you brought up a good point. Like America's Best Dance Crew, and there's some other ones too that are out there. Yeah, we have a lot of that. So I think it's safe to say that we probably, if I were to run America's Got Talent, we could even scrap the dance crew part and just replace that with just comedians instead. So if it were up to me, that's what I would do. And a little sip of H2O in my system. So that's how I would have ran that show, honestly. Yeah. America's Best Dance Crew, though, I do get entertained by that. I'm not going to lie. Dancing with the Stars, Dance Crew. You see some really cool dancers out there, guys. It's really awesome. And sometimes I find that with these reality shows, like I said, which brings back to my first point that I do find interesting about these shows, is that you'll be entertained by the talent that is on the air, that is on television. Calgary Scott says, singing and dancing requires judges that are more technically proficient in these categories. Calgary Scott, I agree with you on that. Hello, hashtag horse gang or hoser gang on TikTok. Hello. So anyways, so let me let's see. I really feel like there was that one year where Ellen DeGeneres was judging American Idol, and I'm just gonna say it right now, guys, that did not make sense. I'm gonna say that again. Ellen DeGeneres judging American Idol never made sense. Never made sense to me. She had no musical background. She's a TV talk show host, and that's all she is. Now, she does. I know she's brought some really talented people, undiscovered talent, that on her show, which is great. Awesome of her to do that. But with her actually judging a singing show like American Idol, doesn't do it justice at all. I mean, that's what really kind of did not make me want to watch shows like that anymore. It was because they had some, those were not the best decisions of judges in these kind of shows. I thought the best time that I think the best era of judges in American Idol was when they started bringing in like Keith Urban and then Randy Jackson. And whoever it is, the Nicki Minaj and Mariah Carey one, like I said, I don't want to see another season of Nicki Minaj and Mariah Carey and Randy Jackson arguing with each other. And poor Keith Urban was sitting in between these people, which is, he had to hear them argue with each other. And I'm sure he had to play peacekeeper probably. But I mean, again, if this was all real, if this feud was actually just all scripted, again, don't be surprised. Let's see. Lonely Boy Hours 36 on TikTok says, what are your thoughts on Rick and Morty? I've actually never seen the show, to be honest with you. I need to watch at least one episode one day. I'm aware about Pickle Rick, though, so yeah. I will need to watch that one day for sure. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Calgary Scott says, I wouldn't mind seeing a photography category, finding an interesting way in these shows. Honestly, Calgary Scott, you know what they could do? Maybe not for America's Got Talent, but what they should do, like a reality show, a reality contest for photographers or even videographers if you want to go a little bit farther on that. Showcase some of the best photography by people, and then, or even like videographers as well. Then you get to watch other people's artwork on live national television. I think that would be great. Calgary Scott, that's a really good idea, man. Yeah, I think that would be an interesting idea to make happen. If you guys feel that would be a good one too, like, I think they should make it happen. Honestly, for me talking about all this kind of stuff about these shows, like, I don't know if the producers of American Idol are listening to this podcast. I'm just gonna say it straight out, guys. Don't forget these are just my personal opinions on the con side of things. Don't take it too personally, guys. I'm just saying this is how. There's some. I always feel like every show should have some way to improve themselves, but again, that's just me. Of course, like, I'm just saying this from an audience perspective, but of course, in the end, I'm not the one making all the decisions, but I'm hoping at least the points I bring up can be an influence somehow to the people behind the scenes of these shows. Oh, yeah, cool, awesome. All right, so well, let's see. I'm open to any other questions, open discussions, any thoughts that you guys have, especially on today's topic about these reality singing shows. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. So go ahead, lay it on me, guys. What else would you like to express on here live on the interwebs? By the way, I just want to get while I wait for you guys' comments or questions or whatever, I just want to thank you guys again so much for just tuning in and listening to what I have to say. And for those who watch my replays as well, thank you. I know that not everyone can tune in live, but I appreciate you guys so much just for making the time to even like watch my replays that are on YouTube and Twitch, and just being able to pay attention to my thoughts, my opinions, my personal insights on everything related to music. So thank you guys again for tuning in to my podcast, which I do every week. Of course, there will be some days where I may take a break from it just because of maybe if it's family related or something like that. But other than that, yeah, for most of it, we are here every Mondays. And again, I thank you guys so much for that. So yeah. What else can I bring? Oh yeah, I should probably mention this too. So again, yes. So if you guys want to watch the replay of this podcast, it's available on my Twitch and also my YouTube. It's EddieLamMusic. I recommend going on YouTube because I know not all Twitch videos stay on websites forever. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my Twitch channel as well. And of course, if you're on TikTok, subscribe to my TikTok channel so I can keep in touch with you guys. And yeah. Calgary Scott says, to capture a younger audience, maybe show displaying talents in a TikTok style. Yeah, Calgary Scott, honestly, you know what? I think that would be kind of cool to do it in a TikTok style. But, but honestly, though, guys, don't forget, before there was TikTok, there was also that software called Vine, which is very similar to it, too. But anytime, when people do ask me what is TikTok and Vine like, I always say it's kind of like YouTube, except you only get 1 minute to impress people. That's all it is, basically. So anyways, yeah, so that's pretty much how I would sum it up in a nutshell about both those softwares. But yeah, but I'm having a great time on TikTok and all that stuff. Oh, I got a silly question here. Somebody's asking, do I eat toast? No, of course not. Ugh, that's disgusting. Are you kidding me? Ugh, what a very disgusting thing to do. Ugh. I know there's that whole I was going to express an interesting little side thought here. I know there's that recent controversy with Dan Schneider, the producer of Nickelodeon sitcoms, where the guy's a bit of a creep and he had this interesting bit of a foot fetish, and I'm just like, ugh, that's really just, ugh. That's really uncomfortable because when you look back at some of those old clips from those old sitcoms like Victorious and all that, I'm just like, oh yeah, it is pretty cringy and really strange. And then that's when you knew Dan Schneider had a lot to do with it. That little side topic, of course, but it's just I was just looking into those cases just recently, basically. So yeah. So there we go. Yeah, Dan Schneider's a bit, from what I've looked at from those videos that about him is that the guy seems to give off a bit of a creep vibe, basically. So, anywho, folks, yeah. So I find that, I always find that like whenever like I'm going to admit, going back to our topic here, I will admit when I do have the time, I will tune into The Voice once in a while. I do find that The Voice is a far more superior singing show in my personal opinion right now. Just because I love that whole concept. It's like you can't judge the singer by how he looks or how he, she, or they look. You have to just hear that person out, and you just have to make that decision whether you want as a celebrity coach / judge want to work with a singer or not. Right? So I really like that concept, honestly, and I think it's taking off a lot more than American Idol, in my personal opinion. It seems like American Idol's formula, I don't know, it seems pretty out of date in my personal opinion. It's a little bit out of date, where it's almost like it's too predictable. I think it's almost too predictable because you're looking at the singer already before you make your decision. Where I do love The Voice because it's unpredictable. Like sometimes I've seen some of those clips in The Voice where this person is singing, right? They're singing their butts off, but sometimes you see these judges not make a decision. They don't press that button to turn around saying, "I want to work with you." And then what happens is that they kick themselves. They're like, "Oh, why didn't I work with this guy? Why didn't I press the button?" And so I always feel like the pressure is not just on the contestants, but there's also as much pressure on those coach / judges. Blake Shelton on Adam Levine from Maroon 5, and whoever else was it? Who were one of the judges too? It was didn't they have Demi Lovato, and I think they had Alicia Keys, and they've had like Miley Cyrus, a bunch of different singers. So yeah, but I like The Voice more just because of the unpredictability involved in it. So I would pick that more than American Idol any time now. I know that they were supposed to have, American Idol was canceled. They had like, the final episode of the old format back in like a few years ago, and then the next thing I knew, they came back like because they got a new deal. But I was watching it, but honestly, the vibe was just not really the same, and I wasn't really digging it, honestly, because it's almost like they gave it too much of a complete makeover. To the point that it just doesn't feel like American Idol anymore, basically. Like how I feel, when Guns N' Roses, like when Axl Rose changed the lineup to Guns N' Roses because Slash and the other members were not there anymore, so he had like Buckethead and all those other band members. That's the same feeling I had when they reformatted American Idol under new management. That's exactly how I felt. So that's why I love The Voice, because it's consistent. It's really consistent, but it always brings in that suspense. It keeps you on top of your toes and to know like what's gonna happen next. But that's what I like about it. Calgary Scott says American Idol is too restricted. Every young person does not sing the old tunes they're forced to. Yes, that's actually very true. Calgary Scott also says, my kids don't want to hear a 13-year-old sing Bette Midler. No, that's very true, Calgary Scott. Like, honestly, like, not everyone has to sing the classics, but, let's hear some more modern stuff as well at the same time. Basically, just mix it up, basically, do some old, new, in between, right? I think that should be there needs to be a fair balance. I'm one of those kind of like, fair balance kind of guys, right? You don't want to be all old stuff. You don't want to be all new stuff. You don't want to be all, like, just, put a little variety. Right, variety is what brings balance to the music scene, basically. So yeah, and and honestly, I find that like the thing I do like about The Voice is this though, is that there is no age discrimination too. I find out, during that time, like back in the old days of American Idol, I think the oldest contestant at the time, you have to be like 30, and that's the oldest that that they can only reach. But I always find that to be a little bit on that age discrimination side, where this is where I'm gonna give props to Britain's Got Talent. Susan Boyle was like what, like in her late 50s, like almost 60 at the time, I think, when she got discovered. And she's got a beautiful voice too, and yeah, she's like this much older lady. And guess what? She got really popular, and she finally got that huge fame that she totally deserved, because she is that good. So, so that's why I think that early part of American Idol, like Calgary Scott says on TikTok, is too restricted, and I think I'm just like, yeah, you know what? But then you're just limiting yourself to just only like certain number of talent, and there's so much other different people out there who deserve to be heard. Yeah, and Calgary Scott says, this is why I love Adam Lambert. He made them uncomfortable, and I loved it. Now, Calgary Scott, you brought up a good point. Adam Lambert, I think, with him having a rock voice too, when he did Led Zeppelin's Whole Lot of Love, oh my goodness, that was good. That was unbelievable. I loved his performance. And rock and roll is supposed to be challenging the status quo. It's dangerous, daring, right? And I always find that these reality shows, these reality singing shows, are too much on that safe side for just generic pop, top 40, all that kind of stuff. But rock and roll, man, let's bring some edge to that show. Let's bring some bit of rebellion. Let's bring a little bit of get some headbanging happening. With me as a rocker kind of guy, I would encourage that, honestly. Calgary Scott says, I loved it when he did Ring of Fire during Country Week. I actually did not see that, Scott. Thank you so much for bringing that up to my attention. I would love to check that out one day. So your guys' I love hearing your guys' thoughts about these shows too. I think, like I said, I mean, if it were up to me, if I were to choose what show I want to be on, I would probably choose to be on The Voice. I think it's more suitable for me personally, and yeah, that would be an awesome topic to talk about here as a Canadian, because we don't have a Canadian version of The Voice, but maybe that'll be another topic to talk about sometime. Maybe I'll do it next week. We'll see. We'll see what topic I feel like talking about next week. But maybe that's another one I'll talk about. Is if I were to produce a Canadian version of The Voice, who would I book as my Canadian judges / coaches? Kim the Band on TikTok says, I feel like the production has too much control over these shows. Kim the Beard on TikTok. Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. Like I was saying during my topic discussion, about these shows, is that things are possibly too scripted, which means they do these things for the sake of ratings, and they like to have control because they I don't know, because they think real is too lame. So let's exaggerate a little bit. This goes back to what I'm saying. I truly believe. Oh, hello, Audrey. Hello, Audrey on TikTok. Good to see you again. I truly believe that these producers of these reality contests have watched way too much wrestling, too much WWE, too much WCW, TNA Impact, TNA Impact Wrestling, or AEW, those wrestling shows, right? I'm a wrestling fan myself, but I personally would not want to fake these stories for the sake of ratings. Just make it as real as possible. It's like you want to make it a reality show, but it's like an opposite of what it's supposed to be. It's almost, is irony the right word for that kind of thing? But I don't know. But documentaries. I like documentaries more than reality shows, because documentaries are far more real than these reality shows I've been watching on television. Kim the Beard says, also, how someone who was in the top of the list for 3 weeks straight goes home all of a sudden. Yeah, Kim the Beard on TikTok. Honestly, I agree with you. Sometimes it just sucks that like the minute they lose, like they just go back home immediately. I think what they should do is that they should do kind of like a kind of like a side tournament for the second chance round, and then that way it's like, oh, like that'll open a huge can of worms basically, where where they can actually just have these people who got eliminated do something else on the side in order to jump themselves back into the top spot again. I don't know. That would open up a whole can of worms. I'm always trying to think think of it like in a sports perspective as well. I don't know, something like that basically. I'm just gonna nerd out just a little bit. So Clay Fighter. If you ever played that video game Clay Fighter 2 on Super NES, Super Nintendo, there's this really cool thing where there's a tournament thing, right? And so you fight all these people. So there's the winners and losers. So but all the people who lose, they go into a little side tournament, but then whoever wins the loser's side gets to be gets to face the top winner, and then they duke it out. I don't know, just a little side thing about that, but I think they should do that they should do that for all these reality contests, in my opinion. That's just me. Of course, I'm no producer, but I find that I always seem to have a interesting insight of how things could be run in terms of shows. That's just me. I guess that's just the event planner in me, basically. Audrey is. Yeah, so Audrey here on TikTok, who's one of my followers on Instagram as well. So Audrey is a singer. I've met her through a really cool mutual friend named Raymond, who is also a very talented singer who should be a star, by the way. I'm just going to say that right now. But anywho, so Audrey became one of my followers through Raymond, and and she's a singer as well, striving to do music. So guys, please give her a follow if you can. She's really cool and all that stuff. So yeah. Well, that's pretty much about it about Audrey. Thank you, Audrey, for tuning in. I would love to maybe for my next topic for next week. I'll look into it, but I think it'll be a good one. How would I book a Canadian version of The Voice? So if it were up to me, how would I do that? Who would I pick as judges? Who would I pick as judges for Canadian for the Canadian version of The Voice? That's going to be a tough one because there's a lot of good Canadian talent as well. So that's something to think about. Maybe you guys can type in the comment section below and maybe bring up some ideas of your own too. So how would you do that? So, yeah, awesome. All right, folks, I think that is going to be about it for me for today. This concludes the March 1st, 2021 edition of Music Talk Mondays. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Calgary Scott says, hope the category would be how would I fix broken and outdated shows. Calgary Scott, thank you so much. That's awesome. Yeah. Thanks for doing that, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Anywho, this way we can cover wrestling music, etc. Yeah, that's cool. Thanks, Calgary Scott. Thanks for bringing that up. So anyways, folks, that concludes today of the March 1st, 2021 edition of Music Talk Mondays. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, I have an official website. It's EddieLamMusic.ca. Social media is Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, all under EddieLamMusic. And again, I have a PayPal. It's paypal.me/EddieLamMusic if you want to donate, do a general donation to if you enjoy my content. Patreon.com/EddieLamMusic if you want me to do things like create a greeting video for your loved ones, for anybody in your life, and all that. So yeah, and again, like I said, you can also watch the replay of this podcast on both Twitch and YouTube. So yeah, if you missed out on this podcast, this live stream, fear not, it is on my Twitch and YouTube channel. So that way you can catch up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys have any topic ideas of what you want me to talk about for my podcast, let me know. Message me on Instagram if you want to, and I would love to chat with you guys about some ideas of what you want me to talk about for Music Talk Mondays. I'm your host, Eddie Lamb. Thank you guys so much. And in the meantime, you guys stay in touch, stay safe, and of course, stay awesome. Have a great night, folks.